Hello, everyone. Steve's here. Glad to be with you. Board certified clinical nutritionist, naturopathic doctor, and Jason back with us.
Hello.
Clinical account specialist with Perk. And I love it when he co-hosts. You were busy last week. You had some work down in Sugar Land helping out another practitioner. And
yeah, there's a lot of people that need our help, and so I'm working with other practitioners, help them as well with these strategies.
Well, it's good to have you back. We've got some hot things to talk about today to inspire with. And let me grab that script here.
Looking forward to it. And right after this, we're going to be doing the webinar.
Oh, yeah.
Adrenal fatigue. So stay tuned. If you haven't gotten that link, we're going to be posting it in the chat notes. So check out the chat notes for the link to register for the webinar directly after the Prosper Nutrition Show, 10 a.m. So you guys can join us. We're going to be addressing adrenal fatigue, an issue that's a lot of Americans are dealing with, it seems.
It's probably one of the most important things to know and understand in these days. We see adrenal fatigue, back in the 1990s, it was chronic fatigue syndrome, and you would see it in people that were getting older. And now we're seeing it in younger kids because of the overstimulation of the stress that they're under and the fears that are created by media and social media. So we're going to get into all that and show you a better way to be resilient in these last days, and how we can be functional and be steadfast, be immovable, always abounding in the work in the Lord, because you know that your work in the Lord is not in vain. He created you for that purpose. Let me give you some scriptures of encouragement here. And this is from Daniel 7:25 about in these last days, what the enemy will try to do. He will try to speak against the Most High. These truths that you hear coming out of media against godly principles are just coming against the foundation of what God has built in America and what has been built through the word of God that God's delivered through the prophets of old and today. But listen to this: and he shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and they shall think to change the times and the law. These feelings of apathy and lethargy, to lose hope, and even for some to lose their joy and faith. This is what the enemy is constantly working overtime. But we can stop and we can take a pause for a moment, and we can say, Lord, we just give everyone and everything to you. Lord, we want to be in union with you as we're here today. We want to have understanding in our mind, the life that you've called us to live, that's free. Jesus, you said, whom the Son sets free is free indeed. In Isaiah 41, the prophet is speaking of this from the Old Testament. He said that the poor and needy seek water, but there is none. Their tongues fail for thirst. I, the Lord, will hear them. I, the God of Israel, will not forsake them. I will open up rivers in desolate heights and fountains in the midst of the valleys, and I'll make the wilderness a pool of water, and the dry land springs of water. So he creates this provision of water to grow all the cypress tree and the box tree and the myrtle, and says that they may know me. They may see me and see my goodness and consider and understand together. Lord, enhance their understanding today as they watch and conceive the things that you want to understand in their minds, so that they can walk out these truths and be free. That the hand of the Lord has done this, the prophet says, and the Holy One of God, the Holy One of Israel, has created it. He created it, and he allowed you, as he created you, for a purpose to go through these trials. We all go through these trials. I remember little over a year ago, when I had the flu. Don't know what kind it was. I didn't need to have my variant tested or to know. I just knew what it looked like because I was feverish, I was weak, I was having all these symptoms, and applied our immune protocols. And I get excited about doing that immune seminar. We didn't even come up with the topic for next month. We got to do that before the.
Oh, we have it.
Oh, we do have it. We did talk about it before. You'll have to announce it because.
Yeah, we will. But today we're going to be doing the adrenal fatigue webinar. We'll let you know during the webinar about our webinar for the next month.
Excellent.
So definitely check it out.
So here's a prayer that I wrote for you. I pray, Lord, in the midst of this weariness of the media constantly giving a barrage of negativity and fear tactics to try to coerce me into doing things that are not edifying for my body, that might regret and grow weary and lose heart, Lord, help strengthen me. You are my strength and my song, Lord. Well, Galatians 6:9 says, and let us not grow weary in well-doing, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up. So do you ever feel like you need a therapist? Got a little quote here from John Maxwell's book. It's actually from his Bible called the Leadership Bible. And I really enjoy reading this because he's got some, he just takes certain passages and brings out leadership truths. And we're all called to lead in our environment. Whether it's a mother leading a child, or whether it's a businessman leading his team, whatever you are called to do, and you've got a leadership role. Maybe it's for a lost person that you meet in a day who doesn't know Christ. Did you ever thought you were needing a therapist? If so, then Psalm 37, he says, is for you. David Wright, who is a counselor he's referencing here, provided wise steps to take as you face crisis and decisions. Whenever you feel the pressure of competition in the market, the compulsion to perform and to compare your lot with other leaders, take a pause. And I encourage you to get John Eldredge's Pause app and use those applicable things there to help pause and remember these words that David brings, an eternal perspective on the long-term vision that prevents mistakes and short-term decisions. Number one, trust in the Lord and do good. Do what's right. Despise what others are doing. Number two, cultivate faithfulness and don't move too quickly. Wait upon the Lord. Don't rush into anything. Number three, prioritize God and his value. He will reward and satisfy you in the end. Psalm 103 says he will satisfy you with good things, so your youth and countenance can be renewed like the eagle. So just bless him. It says, bless the Lord, O my soul, and with all that's within me, bless his holy name, and forget not his promise. So commit your plans to him. Trust him. The results are in his hand. He created you for a purpose. Walk through it in peace with him, just like the disciples rode in the boat with him while he was napping in the midst of a hurricane. You can live through the hurricanes of life and be in that peace with him in the boat. Be quiet and patient. That patient perspective comes when we grow still and we meditate and think on these truths of God. Don't fret or compare. Anxiety always gives a bad motivation. Don't do things in an anxious state. Step back, take some deep breaths, pause, reflect, ask God for strength. And the seventh point, refuse to get angry at competition. Anger does not bring about the results you desire. Don't worry about what the others are doing. Know what you're called to do and live it out. And the last point, number 8, put your hope in the Lord. Ultimately, he'll guide and use your decisions. He helps you to make them.
Yeah.
That's from John Eldredge's Leadership Bible.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot myself lately. And the scriptures actually talk about how we only see in a limited way. Even if we have God's Spirit, we still see in a limited way. And so we need that constant guidance from God.
So true.
Follow his guidance.
That's constant. That's all the time.
Right.
And he's available. And Paul is telling us in the New Testament believers, for us today, he says the greatest thing that he desires, God wants us to do, is to prophesy. Now, many of you may not feel prophetic, but God has put within you his Spirit so that you can do what the word means. That means to edify, to exhort, and build up. And that's why we do these podcasts. That's why we do these shows. That's why we do our webinars. We want to build you up in the midst of these turbulent times so you can be resilient and walk with him and living in a victorious life in the midst of the storm. So in the news, I read an article on B12 and its association with chronic fatigue syndrome. And, I didn't reference the article, but it's been around since the 1990s, and there's so many articles on it. Well, in B12, they came out with the B12 shots way back in the 1940s, 30s. And so they've known the deficiency of it is prominent, and it affects so many energy systems and energy pathways. So Dr. Jaffe, on his YouTube, you can look up Dr. Russell Jaffe, any topic you want to hear about. He has got some great YouTube videos, but he talks about the importance of understanding the type that you use. And this is why Prosper Nutrition is here. We're making available these high grade quality professional supplements that are designed by the greatest architect, God himself, but taken in the most natural state so that it can activate body energy systems.
Yeah, so these formulas, there's nothing like them available to the public. And so we're doing something that's almost unprecedented. It's a unique opportunity. Usually these level of quality supplements are only available through practitioners. And so we're offering this to people on our store, on the Prosper Nutrition store. And so you guys definitely want to check it out, prospernutrition.com. These formulas are very effective. Been using them clinically for 30 years plus and getting great results.
Okay, so you sharing that is getting me a little eager.
Yeah.
I know we have testimonies that we're going to share in the webinar, but I had a testimony from this week, and her name is Natalie. And Natalie says that for the first time in 3 years, I went on vacation with no pain and no internal vibrating. She had kind of this anxious undergirding vibration she was feeling in her nervous system. She said, and I didn't have to take any medications. She's medication free now.
Wow.
And just feeling fabulous, energetic. And we're seeing, as we've developed and used more Prosper Nutrition, this high quality supplements for these clients, these breakthroughs are coming. Here she was tormented for 3 years, and within 2 weeks on protocols, her system is operating in this high level of energy and vitality.
That's great.
People we can't say enough about this quality. We were fine. We were content with just using this supplements in the environment of our office. People come face to face. We build trust. We show them what we do and what we've done for 35 years with our family and the quality supplements that we've used and the impact that it's made. And that's where the trust comes in. Well, now we're developing you as an audience for the purpose of reaching more. God has just put it on our hearts to reach more, to reach the families of members that come through the door. The many of them won't come in. They don't think they're serious enough. Yeah, they've got a little high cholesterol, they got a little high blood pressure, a little belly fat, whatever you've got a little bit of, and then you're masking it with certain things. And we talk about that during the stress talk. We're masking it with something, and it's a cover up. And eventually, boom, you don't just show up one day with disease. You earned it. Little by little, you earned that disease. And I did that. I was sick for many, many years until God got a hold of me, allowed me to go, let it get so severe that they told me I'd be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life. And I thought, well, something has to happen. And you get to that low point sometimes. I just wish I would have been wiser. I could have avoided so much. But they say he who has been forgiven much loves much.
Yes. And, that's something that I would encourage y'all watching today. If you have an opportunity to learn something from someone that has gone before you and you don't have to make those mistakes,
Amen.
Definitely take that wisdom, that advice, apply it to your unique situation. There are unique things to all of our lives. So there's going to be a unique way that you apply it, but the principle rings true. Definitely take the advice. That's something that I would say regret in a lot of ways. Is there's moments in my life where I could have taken the advice of people like yourself, Steve. I mean, you're my dad. You've given me advice that some I've taken, some I've not. And then and so there's those moments in life. And so we encourage you to learn from us if you can, or those in your life that are, I guess, people that have gone before you and learned a lot of things. take that input and apply it to your life, so you can learn the lesson of discipline and not necessarily the lesson of regret. I've heard that before.
That's good. Sometimes that discipline of regret ties in with it, repentance. Of course, that's always the best way to go instead of just wallowing in it. But back on the topic of B12, so Dr. Jaffe's adamant about the food form of hydroxycobalamin, which we use in our B12 Max. If you go to prospernutrition.com, look at the B12 Max, and we've got a video snippet there too. We're about to upload more video snippets on all the products, so you can have just that a little bit more education as reminders. We do all these shows. You don't want to have to trace back through and remind, why am I taking B12 and why am I taking 83,000% of the USRDA? Because your nervous system, your methylation process. So what methylation is, some people have heard this word, some people I've heard it and totally don't understand it, but it's really simple. And guess who gives the simple definition? Dr. Jaffe. He says it's like the grammar of the body, how the body communicates to itself between the nervous system and the immune system and the digestive system and your endocrine system. B12 is constantly at work. So at the scientific symposium that I was at a week ago, last weekend up in Dallas, one of the presenters, now they have new information about the biochemistry in the body that prior to the year 2000, we knew that of the chemical reactions that happen between every cell in your body every second was about 5,000. And that was just mind boggling, right? Well, now they know it's over 100,000 of those those chemical signals that take place between the cell surfaces and every cell in the body every second. So it's remarkable, between hormones and neurotransmitters and sugar and glycoproteins and all kinds of spike proteins that do signaling. And on that topic, well, on the hydroxycobalamin versus the synthetic form of cyano, which does have a cyanide bound to it and can build up in the body and not a good form, or using methylcobalamin. Now the body will methylate the hydroxyl form downstream. Many of the upstream nutrients that you take will allow you for the production, and your body will regulate its production. But you don't want to interfere with that production. By using too much methylation. They do link that to, if you're exposed to methyl mercury from the off-gassing of amalgam fillings or environmental methyl mercury, you can bind that methyl mercury too quickly and cause problems in your central nervous system. So allow the body to take care of those molecules at the rate in which it can.
A lot of B12 today, I think you're saying, and so you all know, a lot of B12 today is the popular form is methylcobalamin. And so you guys want to look at the B12 that you have. If you have methylcobalamin, most of the time it's going to cause an basically over-methylation.
Right, a buildup.
You're going to have an excess of that, and it's going to cause some issues. So hydroxycobalamin is the biologically preferred form of B12 that our body takes in and uses to create the B12 that we need. If we need methylcobalamin, it makes it in the right amount and it won't over-methylate. So that's how we encourage you to take the B12. Now, I wanted to remind you guys, if you have questions, if you guys are listening and you have questions during the show, type them into the chat. There's a chat window just to the right of the YouTube video. Right over here. And so type in that question that you have. Any sort of question we'll address at the end of the show when we're done going through some of this stuff that we're addressing this morning. Because we want to address the questions you all have. They're very important to us. You know, we're here for you. So type those in and we'll get to those.
Thank you for that, Jason. Yeah. Very important. Yeah, a few more news items on spike proteins.
Actually, I pointed the wrong direction. The questions are on this side.
Okay.
I'm getting my bearings.
Oh, they're okay. Yeah, because we're flipped on the camera over there. Yeah. So the spike proteins that you've heard so much about with the vaccination and the viruses, it's just a natural process by which our bodies signal. So spike proteins they're not really infectious, but many people have these types of proteins that are like a coat protein. They're recycled through the lysosome action in the body. And for example, the coat protein in hepatitis is not infectious. tests for your T cells can determine immunity for spike proteins, and the core protein, that is the infectious part of a virus. Proteins are recycled by the liver, the kidney, the spleen. So our Liver Protect formula is just so important. I have so many people using that and getting such amazing benefits, and looking at liver enzymes, and just the environment poses such a threat to our liver function, our whole body function. But restoring this balance of proteins at the cellular level with that is dramatic. It works wonderfully. So to increase the recycle of proteins, use adequate liver protection, and use the liver protect ascorbate, vitamin C max, magnesium power, and cell energy, which the choline citrate then helps with the cell signaling. It's also used to make the acetylcholine, which is involved in central nervous system neurotransmitter. It's heavily involved in all transmission.
Yeah, I was just, and there's another, the probiotics are beneficial as well. I was actually just speaking with a practitioner's office yesterday about the probiotics and the different strains and their involvement with microbial things. So like the simple way to think about it is probiotics are good bugs. They actually help our digestion. And so when you increase the amount of good bugs in your digestive tract, it crowds out the bad bugs, and it gets rid of the other issues like viral issues as well. Helps clean that up. And so
good point. We talked about that in our digestive webinar last month, and the value of probiotics is a given. We've got so many antibiotics in society that get into our system and our water supply, get in our meats, and they deplete your probiotic organisms in the gut. And these probiotic organisms are remarkable. Look at our probiotic 10 Max. It's a full disclosure label. You get the individual items listed there on how many million per culture, and each individual culture has a specific function depending on where it's grown and developed and harvested. A remarkable benefit for signaling and helping optimize the removal of excess spike proteins. Let's go on to the next topic. Doing a little checking out of the Ben Shapiro show, and Ben Shapiro's show, he said why he says why we shouldn't glorify obesity. There was a woman on one of the awards shows that was glorifying obesity and literally calling it a community, and obesity is beautiful and wonderful, and he was all over that. He said it's not the world's view to make a standard view of obesity as beautiful. What is the message for our children we're sending, right? To be lazy, to overeat foods and become obese, to not exercise, to just let toxicity run wild in our body and increase that issue, have these poor lifestyles and stressful lifestyles that wreak havoc on the body and cause early destruction and early death. We know all the problems associated with it. Why are we glorifying? I thought that was rather interesting.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I think might be happening is, we all have challenges sometimes with our identity and our self-worth. And I think that's being kind of seen as the same thing. And I think that's where the mix-up can happen with people. And we have people that we've seen clinically for a long time, and those things can be often connected and hard to kind of navigate if someone's in poor health. Obesity is a risk factor, and it indicates poor health in different areas. Whenever we see obesity in the clinic, there's a lot of health markers that we see as well that are risk for issues like cancer and heart disease and diabetes. So we say this from a clinical point of view because of the experience that we have working with clients in our nutrition clinic. So, but that doesn't mean that person that comes to see us isn't of as much value as any other person, as much worth as any other person. God has created us all equal in regard to our worth as human beings. And so I think that's an important point to address, is the perspective possibly that they're trying to get to is, they feel down because of what's going on with their body, which we notice clinically all the time. And they need some encouragement. You have worth, you have value, but let's take care of your health. Let's get you in better health, because obesity is just, it's really hard on the body and can really give you some severe risks of, bad, horrible diseases, and possibly dying younger than, you should. So,
Wow.
it's
Good
all,
point.
yeah.
Thank you for that. That was just so key to understand who we are called to be, healthy and vibrant. So we've got energy to serve and lay down our life for others. So I mentioned that testimony earlier from the Nutrition and Health Center. There was one other, I just thought I would share this. It was Paula. She was commenting about, she watched the Prosper Nutrition program on the YouTube. It was the video after we had done the programming, told her. And she said, so much good information. It was cool. Like I get to see and hear you, even though we can't see me, and glean from the information God has given you. I love how that is helping so many people that can't come to see you. I have a question. You mentioned muscle power for my son, maybe me too, but I didn't see on my supplement list. How do you want us to take it? The bottle says 3 in the morning, 3 at night, which is the ideal dose. Thank you, Paula. Muscle power is a remarkable product. And I'm seeing really everybody needs to be on it, because the core ingredient there is that glutamine with PAC. Now the PAC is just a huge 500 milligrams. Somebody came in with a supplement yesterday and we looked at it and it had 1 milligram of vitamin B6. Ours had 500.
It's not the same either.
And it's not the pyridoxal alpha ketoglutarate, or the
right.
PAC form. So if you look at neurotransmitters, you can go to Nutrition and Health Center website.com and look at assessments and see under neurotransmitters, follow the pathway on glutamine to GABA, and you'll see the PACs involved in that conversion. But it also balances it between glutamate, because the environment has a lot of monosodium glutamate that causes dysfunction in the central nervous system, overexcitation. Literally had a girl that we were trying to identify her source of seizures. And when the test came back, we saw real high glutamate amounts. And at the time, I wasn't using the formula. This is quite a few years ago. I didn't have the PAC and the glutamine PAC formula, the muscle power.
Okay.
That's why we private labeled it. It just works so well. It's just making my work so much easier, because people that were having anxiety disorders, like earlier I mentioned the woman who commented about that shakiness inside, was gone for the first time in 3 years. She's on the formula. So GABA and glutamate balance, part of your central nervous system. So we evaluate all of those neurotransmitters: epinephrine, norepinephrine, dopamine, PEA, the glycine, the GABA, the glutamate, the serotonin, so important for sleep, conversions to melatonin. So I encourage you to consider those testing. It's a simple urine test to send off to the laboratory and find out where you're lacking, but you're never going to.
This is the neurotransmitter pathways that you were speaking of, right?
Show that too, right.
Yeah.
So you can see this down from glutamine. Here's our food source. God provides it in food, but we often don't get enough, and we use it up so rapidly. When we're under stress, we burn up a lot of glutamate.
Yeah.
We burn up a lot of GABA. Same way in the tryptophan pathway, we burn up a lot of that and utilize our serotonin because we're under so much stress. I had the lowest serotonin readings on any of these tests I've ever run, still to this day. 80% of your GABA and your serotonin are produced in the gut. And it's interesting that the muscle power has that glutamine in it, and it's well noted for its ability to regenerate damaged, leaky gut. So you were talking about probiotics in the gut, but here's another important key ingredient to allow for 80% of the GABA production and for the serotonin to happen in the gut, but we have to have a healthy gut for that. It's constantly being torn down and regenerated. Very sensitive system.
Right. So we need to have the nutrients that are essential for regenerating those cells, the glutamine. Yeah.
Always needed. So 3 morning, 3 bedtime, you'll sleep better, you'll have more energy, and it even restores health. It's the most active amino acid in skeletal muscle building. So maintaining skeletal muscle.
Athletes love it. I love it. I take it before I do athletic competition or workouts. It's a great product.
All right, well, let me go back to my list here.
All right. Again, reminder, if you guys have questions, we're going to address those questions. So type it in the chat. The chat is right here next to me. You can type it in, your question. We want to help everyone as much as we can with their health questions and concerns. So type that in. We'll get to it. All right. What do we got next?
Well, we have exhausted our news information and our testimonies from the Nutrition and Health Center and comments from the Nutrition and Health Center.
How about, well, one of the things that I think is a good reminder, a lot of what we're talking about, there's a lot of information and it can seem overwhelming, but 7 proven steps that we have found that we use in the clinic with everyone in the clinic. You can download a guide, a handbook, or it's a digital ebook for free of those 7 proven steps on prospernutrition.com. So visit prospernutrition.com and you'll scroll down and download the 7 proven steps booklet. It's a free download, and we'll just follow up with you and give you the information. But it's helpful information that you can implement today and start seeing results in your health. So 7 proven steps. Definitely check that out. You're going to share that with them. Yeah, just select it right there. There's some great information in there that we've compiled, and definitely worth your time.
Beautiful cover page on there too. They did a great job.
Mm-hmm. And then there's an assessment as well on the website.
Right. Free assessment for the person who doesn't think they really have a lot of problems. You can't get them to come in the clinic. People have that problem all the time. And, we all have imbalances that we can, like Jason was saying earlier, we can ward off the destructive effects of our lifestyle habits. We don't realize the long-term effect that they have. You're only going to live this life once. I love this from Joyce Meyer. She said, let's just get it right this time. Let's do as much right as we can. Live out the fullness of our days. She's preaching, I think she's in her 80s now. And the woman, she's living that healthy lifestyle as best she can. She's doing great things to motivate people, encourage people, even in the midst of their storms, that God has a destiny, he has a journey, he has a purpose in it. Each and every one of us. That's why he made us, for a purpose. Sometimes it seems your purpose is hard. Well, praise God for it. There's many rewards in heaven for those that go through harder purposes.
Yep. And on that note, at 10 o'clock, we're going to be wrapping up this show right now here in just a minute. If you have questions, type it in. But at 10 o'clock, we're doing the adrenal fatigue webinar. So there's a link in the chat right over here. There's a link. Click that link. You'll be able to register for the webinar and join us at 10 o'clock Central Standard Time for the adrenal fatigue webinar. So we look forward to seeing y'all there, and we're very thankful that y'all could join us.
Yes, thank you so much.
Please comment on these videos. We're going to be continuing to put these Prosper Nutrition videos out every week. Comment on the videos, anything that you have to share as far as positive effects that you've had to share with others, any questions you have. And if you need to bring something to our attention, maybe we missed something, maybe there's something that, we want this to be a conversation with you all. We want to be able to grow in this. We don't know everything. It is our job as far as helping people with their health. And we've learned a lot, and we have a lot of information to share that most people don't know about, but we do believe too that we aren't perfect, and we can be improving our approach. So we welcome the conversation. It's something that, we are excited about doing and helping as many people as we can. And so join us in that journey. We look forward to communicating with you, to conversing with you, and improving our health, prospering in health with you.
Man, it's frustrating to feel like you've tried everything to reach your health goals, but nothing is actually helping. With personalized evidence-based supplements and professional guidance from Prosper Nutrition, you can have a simplified way to optimize your health. We're here for you. I pray 3 John 2 over your life. May you prosper and be in health. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you. We're going to switch over here. We'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.